Today is about you. It's an opportunity for you to retreat from your life for one day, to remove the constant stimulation of all the things in your external environment that remind you of who you think you are. The people you know, the places you go, the things you do at certain times, and the experiences that you have that you can predict, long enough to begin to learn new information, or at least revisit information that you already know, and get your brain working in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations. And if we can keep reminding you to be defined by a future instead of being defined by your past, we can begin to change your brain and body to be ahead of your environment, so that when you walk back into your life, you're no longer responding in predictable ways. So then, one day, one single day, to detach from your known, familiar world. The problems you have, the pets you own, the children you have to take care of, or the parents that you have to manage, or the relationships that you're in. For you to begin to think about you, and to think about what part of you you want to leave behind, and what part of you want to create in the future. So, can you give me your absolute best today? Your absolute best. So last night when we were talking, we were saying that learning is making new synaptic connections. And every time you learn something new, there is a physical change that takes place in your brain. I'm going to show you pictures of that this morning. Which means then, if you begin to learn something new, new neurons begin to connect in new ways. So if learning is making new synaptic connections, then remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections, which means you have to revisit that information, and you have to review it, and you have to fire and wire those connections so that they develop a long-term relationship. And as you begin to revisit that information and your brain begins to create pictures and you begin to describe that picture, you're creating a model of possibility. How many people are with me? And so the model that you create today has to be complete. There can't be any holes or any weaknesses in it, because if there is, you're going to just turn off and you're not going to accept possibility. So I want you to make a deal with the person next to you, that between the two of you today, you are going to build a very clear model. Because I'm going to explain concepts and ideas, and I'm going to ask you to turn to the person next to you and explain those concepts so that you begin to wire this information in your brain, so that in your weakest moment, in your darkest hour, you don't talk yourself out of greatness. Now, we have this privilege of being a human being, is that we can make thought more real than anything else, and that our awareness is so mobile. You can begin to think about what you're going to do this evening, and what type of wine you're going to drink, and who you're going to go out with, and you could begin to contemplate and select the possibility that exists in the quantum field. And as you begin to select that future moment, you forget about the present moment. Or you can unfold the past bitter memory that's tattooed in the recesses of your gray matter, and like magic, you can bring it to life. And in that moment, it's real. And your body, as the unconscious mind, is living in that past, in that moment, and you miss the present moment. Now, the average human being loses their attention span 6 to 10 times per minute. So everybody has ADD. But paying attention is being present. And it is a skill, just like golf or tennis. The more you practice paying attention, this amazing thing happens. When you are truly present in the moment, you lose track of time and space. And it just seems like the whole day disappeared and went by because you were in the present moment. So then, If I'm explaining a concept and you were thinking about who's feeding your cat back home, or that conversation you had with your boss the other day, and the things you should have said, and you slip out of the present moment, and you have no idea what I've said, you know, we think that's normal. We do that all the time, and we think that's normal. Or you have no idea what your partner is talking about because you're thinking about who did her hair. You know, I want you to make a deal with the person next to you that you say, hold on a second. I have no idea what he said. I have no idea what you said. Let's start over again. To change is to be greater than your environment, to be greater than your body, and to be greater than time. So then my question is, can you be greater than your environment today? Can you be greater than your body? Can you be greater than time? Because if you truly can, you will change. So then, the research shows that when you come to a concept or an idea, you know, and you're reading a book or you're watching a documentary or you're studying something and you come to a concept or an idea where there's a word that you don't understand or a concept that's complicated and you're not going back and understanding it, do you know that if you keep reading past that point, that your comprehension goes down incrementally? So that you've just read 5 pages, you have no idea what you read. Your awareness is in the freezer with the Haagen-Dazs. Your brain is processing the information, but your awareness is somewhere else. That's because you got to something that you didn't understand, and you continued on. So if you can stay present with this information, and you can work with your partner in building the most complete model possible, and you can begin to integrate this into the networks of neurons that you already have, every time we build this concept and build it a little bit more, you're going to begin to wire that information into your brain so that when we get to this afternoon and it comes time to apply all of this philosophical, theoretical, intellectual information for you to have an experience, you have more intention behind it. And the research shows that if you assign more meaning behind what you're doing, you get better results. They took a group of Latin American maids in Texas, and they watched them. They were cleaning hotels, and they watched these maids flip mattresses and drag, furniture across the room and scrub, floors and tubs and toilets and vacuum. And they watched them and observed them, and they found out that these maids were actually exceeding the Surgeon General's requirement for exercise. They were doing more exercise, but they were all obese. And so they divided the maids into 2 different categories, and they said to the one group of maids, hey, do you know that exercise is actually good for you, and you're actually exercising more than is required in the United States, and you're burning calories, which means you're burning more energy than you're eating. And the exercise helps you lose weight, lose fat. It makes your waist smaller. It's good for your heart. It's good for your self-esteem. And they gave him all of the benefits of exercise. Now, the other group, they let them continue doing what they were doing mindlessly. In 1 month's time, the maids that understood what they were doing lost weight. They had smaller waist sizes. They had less body fat. Their heart rate went down over 10 points, and they felt better about themselves. But they didn't change anything. All they did was they had intention behind what they were doing. How many people are with me? So then, if the more understanding you have about what you're doing, and the more you can build this model, when we get to the meditation this afternoon, there will be nothing left to conjecture. There'll be nothing left to dogma. I will leave nothing left for you to talk yourself out of it.